Hey everyone, I am your astrologer Wonder Girl, helping you to live in tune with the natural cycles of the moon. This is your astrology horoscope for the full moon in Pisces, which happens on Monday, September 20th, 2021 at 7:53 p.m. Eastern Time or 4:53 p.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think this full moon is really all about is about us getting major messages from our intuition or from spirit or from a higher power about how we can better realign our lives towards a more peace, more relaxation, more happiness, more fun, and more healing. That's very, very powerful and very positive for us, but about us kind of doubting what our intuition is saying and what spirit is saying, or being afraid to follow it through to the very end because it may seem crazy and illogical and not make sense. That could be part of the problem that we're really going to have to come to terms with this time period so that we can follow through on these inklings in the ways that it is that we need. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please stay tuned because we're going to hop into it right now. Before I get into the nitty gritty though, I do just want to place it on the chart first so that you can see what it is that I'm referring to and follow along with me. So let's do that now. This video is for the full moon in Pisces, which is what this chart is for. Okay, we've got the moon here, 28 degrees Pisces, and it is exactly opposite the sun here at 28 degrees Virgo. When the moon opposes the sun, that is a full moon. What are full moons all about? Full moons are about a few things. One of the things to me that they're about is about understanding things or illuminating things or bringing things to light, because that is the time when the moon is the brightest in the sky. Not only are full moons about that, but to me, they're also about stepping into something more fully full moon as a result of this understanding or this illumination that we just received, and completing something that we've been working towards for quite some time. Okay, now what at this full moon are we getting more understanding on, stepping into, and completing Pisces, because that's where the moon is. What is Pisces about? Well, one of the first things about Pisces is that it is a lot about our intuition within ourselves, or about our connection to a higher power, to God, spirit, soul, universe, whatever works for you, whatever word or idea works for you. It's about our connection to that. So what that means to me is that one of the big things going on at this full moon is that we're getting major understanding about our intuition and about what our intuition is saying to us, and messages from our intuition, and that we're getting also messages from God, spirit, soul, universe, and a higher power as well. What messages, or what kind of messages are we getting from intuition and a higher power? Well, Pisces is also about peace within our soul, and wholeness within our soul in some way, shape, or form, in alignment with our soul. So I think these big messages that we're getting from God, spirit, soul, universe, and intuition are really about how we can better realign our lives here so that we can be more at peace with our lives and with whatever it is here that we're trying to accomplish. Okay, not only that, but I should also note too that Pisces is a lot about trusting, surrendering, and having faith, especially because it does correlate to our intuition and to a higher power. So what that means to me is not only at this full moon are we getting major insights from our intuition and from a higher power about how we can realign our lives to make ourselves feel more whole and more at peace, but I think there's also a strong, big dose of trust, faith, and surrender that is necessary here in order for us to follow that through. Not only does Pisces correlate to trust, faith, and surrender, but I also correlate Pisces as well to rest and relaxation. Okay, and rest and relaxation does not always mean that everything in your life is easy. It just means you have a state of rest and relaxation throughout the process, which to me correlates to the trust and the faith and the surrender. So not only to continue, again, bringing all these concepts together, because there's quite a few here, not only is this full moon in Pisces about us getting big downloads from our intuition and from a higher power about what we need to realign our lives to feel more at peace with it, and about us trusting and surrendering to the process as we go about and get it in whatever way that is, but it's also about us being at peace with the process and being restful as much as we can and relaxed as we make these adjustments that it is that we need, that Spirit's telling us in order to move forward. Okay. Not only is Pisces about all those things, but I also do see Pisces as well about about healing. To me, Pisces and Virgo are both about healing, and Pisces is especially about healing of our emotions because it is a water sign, and also about the healing of the past. So what this continues to mean to me is that at this full moon in Pisces, we're getting major insights from our intuition and from spirit and from a higher power about how we can better realign our lives towards more peace. We're having to trust and surrender and have faith and rest throughout the process as all of that comes together. And us going through this process of the trust and the surrender and the intuition is going to help us heal emotionally, especially. I think physically too, with the Virgo influence from some things in the past that have been hard for us and that have been keeping us down. Not only is it going to help us heal from some of the things in the past that have been keeping us down, but I also think as well that it's going to help us release a lot of old emotions, feelings, mindsets, habits as well, so that we can move on. Okay. And that's it. I guess that's all I want to say for the time being about the full moon in Pisces and these major themes. But before I move forward, giving you more of the details now about this full moon, I do want to go backwards in time for a minute before I go forwards. Want to go backwards in time here just to give you a little bit more of the context about how we got here to this full moon and about why these themes are now coming up in order to be worked through. Okay, and to go back to give you that context, I'm going to go back to the last solar eclipse, which happened, I believe, around the beginning degrees of Gemini here in June. I want to go back to that last solar eclipse because solar eclipses do start cycles that are pretty big that last at least 6 months, but many times even more than that. And determine major themes that we're working out. So I want to start there. Excuse me. What was that solar eclipse about in Gemini in June? Well, in my opinion, it was about us settling into and making more familiar Gemini, a new, different, and better chapter in life away from a lot of the hardships of the past few years and decades that recently started to arrive. It was about us settling into that and making it more familiar. And I do believe that we were able to do that for the most part in June. Because of that, we then got to the next new moon a month later in July, which was right here in Cancer. What was that about? Well, Cancer is the lowest part of the chart. So that to me was about us now beginning to ground and root this new chapter in life that has arrived and that we were starting to make more familiar, and to ground it so that it could more fully take hold and last the test of time. And I believe that we were also able to do that too, because we were able to do that then in August. Now at that next new moon, right about here in Leo, we then began to think more about how we could be happier in this new, better place in life that has started to arrive and become more solid and more firm and more grounded. Not only did we begin to think more about what made us happier and how we could enjoy life more, but I think we also got some insights as to what that would be as well. Okay, that then leads me to the next and really the last new moon that we had, which was in September here in Virgo. And that new moon in Virgo was about us trying to figure out now how to take these things that we realize that are going to make us happy now that we're in a new and different and better place of life, and how we can put more of those things into action on the day-to-day in a more practical and tangible way in order for that to occur. Okay. And I do believe that over the course of the past 2 weeks, that new moon was 2 weeks ago, it's been a little bit difficult for us to more fully adjust our habits and our routines towards this happiness and towards this play and towards this more joyful life experience. I think it's been hard for us to do it because we've still been stuck on old habits in a lot of ways, and because we've still been stuck in work and stress and overly doing and justifying things. Because of that, because it's been hard for us to do, we now get this new moon, full moon in Pisces, of which this video is for. And the full moon in Pisces is spirit and our intuition knocking on our door in a big way, giving us a major message that we need to quit the old habits, release the past, release the old hard habits of the past, and follow what is going to bring us the most peace in life, to realign our lives towards that, and to trust our intuition and to have faith that it will work out if we move in that direction. okay, to give us more of a kick to get there. All right, and that's it. Because that's all of the context that I'm going to mention. I'm now just going to repeat all of that one more time before I move forward into the specifics, more of the specifics of this full moon. So let me do that now. What I think this full moon is really all about is us getting more of a push here from our intuition, spirit, and soul to realign our lives more towards happiness, joy, and pleasure, and to release old habits that are keeping us stuck, and to have trust and faith that it will work out if we go in that direction, and to be at peace and rest and relax as much as we can throughout this process as we move on. Okay. And I think that's it. Any other notes that I want to say before we dive in? Okay. For some of you, let me say this. For some of you, you could have a lot of things going on at this time, right? It is a full moon. Usually full moons are pretty active. So for some of you, just to add more clarity, you could have a lot of things going on right now that your intuition has told you that you need to manifest, I suppose, in order to realign your life, to make it feel more peaceful. And those of you who have a lot of things going on right now, the trust and the faith and the surrender to the process, even if things are crazy, is key, and the resting and relaxing through the process. Okay. Resting and relaxing doesn't mean things aren't going on in your life. It just means you have a mental state of peace, rest, and relaxation about it. Okay. That's definitely what some of you for sure I see are getting here. For others of you, you may have nothing going on new and different in your life that your intuition perhaps is telling you to manifest or to shift and to change. For some of you, your life may be the same that it's always been, or may be still. If your life, if you are one of those people who's still and who doesn't have much going on, then the message is still for you to wait until your intuition speaks, and to trust your intuition on whatever it's saying, and to cultivate more faith and surrender, and even more rest and relaxation in your life, regardless of what is going on, and more ease as you move forward. So I wanted to note that before I move any further, that there are two very different ways that this full moon could play out. But even though they're two very different ways, the message is still the same. Either lots going on in your life and you need to trust intuition about whatever you're feeling called to initiate, and rest the most that you can and be at peace through the process, or nothing is really going on in your life and you need to still trust whatever your intuition is saying, and rest and relax still more whatever is going on, and go more into a place of ease and releasing old habits and patterns. Okay. Just want to be clear here about that. Okay. Because I've said that. Hold on. Sorry. Is there anything else I want to say? Yeah, I think that's it. Because that's all I want to say for now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now move into more of the specific alignments that the full moon itself is making, in order to show you more details about what's going on here. And I'm going to start, I believe with some good ones. That's going to be the moon here in a conjunction with Neptune. I suppose it's not always good, but that's the way I'm going to see it for now. How is this fairly good? Well, Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. It's at home there where this full moon is. And Neptune, to me, is superpowering this full moon in Pisces, because it's in its home sign conjunct it. So what this means to me is not that we're getting a little bit of intuition, a little bit of spiritual guidance. It's not that we're getting a little bit of trust and faith and surrender, a little bit of realignment, a little bit of doing that. This to me is big. Neptune conjunct this full moon is saying, here's a lot of spiritual guidance for you from your own soul, not from me, but your own inner soul is telling you, you need a lot of that, or if not a lot of spiritual guidance, then it's encouraging a lot, like an insane amount of trust, faith, surrender, and rest and relaxation. So that's what I want to say there. This is not just, especially too with the full moon being almost at the last degree of Pisces, which are the more mature degrees, the later degrees of a sign. So this isn't just a little bit of those things I described. This is a lot. You need a lot of you're getting a lot of spiritual guidance, and you need to trust fully that, and have faith fully in that, and rest and relax fully into that, and rest and relax more just in general in your life for you to heal and feel more at peace. No small potatoes here. All right. And I do think that's what's needed at this time. Okay, not only is this going on, really giving us a major boost, I think, to help us get in this direction, but we've also got this full moon here, sextile Pluto and Capricorn, which I also do like because it's a sextile, and I almost always interpret sextiles positively, really no matter what planets are involved. So I do like this as well. What is the good thing about this? Well, Pluto is about permanent change and transformation. Capricorn is about the direction of our lives. And sure, it can be external direction, but I'm feeling a lot of internal shifts, especially with the full moon being in Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, and a water sign. So what this means to me is that us being radically guided into our spirit, into our intuition, or into what would make our soul feel at peace and resting and relaxing and trusting the process, that is rearranging things within inside us so that we can feel like our life is going in a better direction as a result of these intuitions, and so that we can feel a little bit more permanently and capable and empowered in our life in order to move it forward. Okay, and this, I'm not gonna lie, this I do like a lot, and this to me is what this full moon is really all about. Massive messages from spirit about what you need to feel at peace and to rest and relax and to be more at ease and more aligned in your life, and to trust the process that's making us feel more in charge, more in control of our lives, more capable, and like it's going in a much better place. Okay, but even though our spirit and our intuition and our emotions are telling us that in a huge way, there of course is a conflict here most of the time, especially now with this full moon, that can make that a little bit difficult, even though we feel it, we do feel it. Okay, what is making this difficult? Well, at the same time that this full moon is conjunct Neptune and sextile Pluto, it is also opposite Mars here in Libra, which is conjunct the sun, suppose you could say, and it's quincunx here Mercury in Libra. Okay, these are hard aspects, the opposition and the quincunx. Not only are these just hard aspects, they're hard too because of the planets in Libra. Mars does not like to be in Libra, it's in fall there. And when planets aren't in signs they don't like to be in, they don't function as well as they would otherwise. And we've got Mercury here in pre-retrograde shadow, about to enter retrograde about a week from now, roughly. So this is challenging in multiple ways. Why is this challenging? Well, for one, I'll start in general with the Libra influence, right? Both of these planets are in Libra, which is having the issues at the moment. So I'll start there. What is the problem? Well, Libra, for one, especially with Mercury there, has to do with our logical mind, right? Libra is an air sign. Air signs are a bit more sensible, and Libra too likes to weigh out information in a logical way. So I think one of the big issues of this full moon in Pisces is that our intuition is speaking to us big time about whatever we need to do or not do to feel more at peace in our lives, and about how we need to trust and surrender to the process. But even though our intuition and God and spirit is speaking to us big time, our logical, pesky logical mind is not on board with it. Our pesky logical mind is criticizing and is critical and is stopping us from moving forward, because our pesky logical mind is saying, where's the proof? Where's the proof that this is going to work? Where's the proof that if I follow my intuition, this weird thing that God is telling me to do, where's the proof that it's going to work? It hasn't worked before, has it? You know, with this, no one's ever done this thing before. You know, there's a lot of that that's going on in our own mind. Because when spirit speaks, it doesn't always speak logically. So I think there's a lot of conflict there. Deep down in our heart and soul, we know what we need to do to feel better, but our mind is trying to talk us out of it because it doesn't make sense. Not only is our mind like trying to talk us out of it because we're being too logical, really, but Libra is also about balance too. And when we think of balance, I think normally we think of balance as being 50-50, half this, half that. And with the moon, the full moon being conjunct Neptune, big Neptune energy, big Pisces energy, this isn't half logic, half realism, half intuition. No, with the full moon being a full moon, conjunct Neptune, this is going all in on an inkling, going all in on intuition, going all in on rest and relaxation, going all in on what our spirit and soul is telling us it needs to heal in order to feel more aligned. So I think that that's also the problem. Not only that this makes no sense, that our spirit and soul, whatever it's telling us that we need to feel more aligned and trust and faith, and it makes no sense, but that it's too much. It's too much of it, you know? Maybe if our spirit and soul told us to do a little bit, it would be easier. Maybe if we only needed to rest and relax a tiny bit, it would be easier. but to need to trust our intuition and to have fun and to rest and to relax and to trust and faith and surrender to the extent we need to do it here. Oh, that's too much, too much, too hard, too difficult. Doesn't make sense. That can be the challenge here, especially if we have bills to pay and food to put on the table and things that we need to do, right? So it's not all ridiculous, it's not all we have some real concerns. How can I follow this crazy inkling? How can I rest and relax to a crazy extent when I got bills to pay, food to put on the table, things to make happen? So I think that there's a lot of that conflict here. These intuitions don't make sense, and they're asking too much of me that I'm not willing to do, and I got other things I need to take care of. How can I follow this inkling and play and heal and do all this other stuff if it's not going to pay the bills? Okay, that's bringing us down. Not only that, but Libra is also a relationship sign too. So relationships are also a problem. They're also part of the issue here. What is part of the issue? I see two things with relationships. For one, external validation. There's something about Libra that likes to look nice, likes to put on airs, especially when it's aspected negatively, that likes to put on airs for other people, to be someone that someone else would admire and would get along with and would think is nice. So I think another problem too is that we're looking for external validation. We want other people to think that what we're doing is good and is pretty and to approve of what we're doing here. But it's really hard for people to approve of an intuition they didn't get. It's really hard for people to approve of something that your soul needs and theirs doesn't. So I think there's also the conflict there. Not only is my intuition and this need for rest and relaxation doesn't make logical sense and is too much when I have bills to pay and things to do, but also like other people don't get it really. Other people don't get what I need here. That could also be a bit hard to explain with Mercury retrograde and a bit hard to come to terms with and make sense of. Not only could it be hard because other people don't get it, but Libra also is a peacemaker. Libra wants to be nice to people. So not only could we be really frustrated here, frustrated is probably the word with the Mars here. Not only are we very frustrated that it doesn't make logical sense and it's too much intuition here and we got bills to pay and that other people just don't get it, but we're also afraid that we're going to upset people if we do what our soul says, what they don't understand. We're also worried that we're going to upset the balance in our relationships, the fairness in our relationships as we adjust our life to heal more and to be more at peace and to do more of these things that our soul is telling us that it needs to do here. That's hard, okay? Very difficult. So it's like two parts of our soul warring with each other. It's like the intuitive emotional part is like, I need healing. I need rest. I need relaxation. I need to do what my soul needs to feel better. And then we get the logical part of our mind that's like, well, but this doesn't make sense. And now I got practical stuff to do. And what about other people? And I don't want to upset them that are going against each other, that are making us torn. Okay. And because we're feeling torn with Venus here in Scorpio, square Saturn in Aquarius, is technically hard because Venus doesn't like to be in Scorpio and Saturn's involved. We're ignoring the fullest extent. We may be, some of you may be ignoring because of that conflict, the fullest extent of what your soul is saying to you that it is that you need, and ignoring some of your values, Venus, your needs, Venus, and your deepest desires, Scorpio as well. So this is very hard. And I think the message of this is not to wallow, I think the message of this is not to stay torn, and is not to stay frustrated, and is not to ignore your soul, ignore your intuition. I think the message here is to make big changes in our approach to life. Okay. And the reason why I believe that is the case is because Mercury is stationing to go retrograde within a few days after this full moon here in a square to Pluto in Capricorn. Okay. Pluto, maybe I should say there, Pluto by hard aspect, especially to me, is about big permanent change and transformation. Mercury as well, when it goes retrograde, is about retrograde thinking. Mercury reevaluating, reassessing things or thinking differently. So we get multiple symbols here about changing the way that we think, thinking differently, reassessing things. Okay, not only that, but Mars is in a sign it doesn't like to be in, Libra. When planets are in a sign they don't like to be in, they require us to function in a different way than what is natural to us and what we would normally function here. So I think that there's a need for us to change the way we normally operate and we normally think. Think Mercury, do things Mars here. In some way, shape, or form. How do we need to change? Change the way that we think permanently change the way that we think and permanently change the way that we act. Doesn't mean it's easy, it's a square, but how do we need to do it? Well, it's the Libra influence. We need to change the way that we think to ease up on the logic. Mercury retrograde to me is not about doubling down on logic. It's about easing up on the logic and trusting more intuition, Pisces, trusting more intuition. So what we need to do during I think what we need to do at this full moon, because of the struggle that we're having, is change the way that we evaluate things in life and think about things to allow our intuition to have more of a say here and to move forward on that. I think we've really been trying to do that for quite some time, I should note. I think there have been some previous alignments in the astrology over the course of the past few months that have been saying that, but we're getting it again. We still need to drop the logic and trust more of our intuition here. Not only that, but I think another message to get real crazy is we need to realize that trusting our intuition at this time is like almost the most logical thing that you can do, right? And resting and relaxing and being at peace, sometimes that is the most logical. Why? Because resting and relaxing and trusting our intuition and being at peace, I'm lumping them all together, even though they're different, but related. Us doing that is going to make us feel healed and more rejuvenated to do things later on more effectively when we feel called to do them. So I think there's also a need here too, to not only change the way that we think, to allow more space for the unexplainable and the illogical and the intuition, but to realize that sometimes things being unexplainable and illogical and intuitive is the most logical thing, explainable thing that there is for certain phenomena in our life. So there's a big perspective shift there that's happening that I think is meant to last for many months and years after this, not just for Mercury retrograde. It's meant to come during Mercury retrograde, but to last for many months and years after this, okay? That intuition is good. All right, not only do we need to do that, but Libra is about balance. We need to change the way that we think of balance. We need to change the way that we think of balance, which I believe I also said at the last new moon video in Virgo, to not believe that that balance is 50% one thing and 50% another, 50% our needs and then 50% relationships, or 50% work and 50% rest and play, which are also related to me. We need to change our idea of balance still to be whatever is needed whenever it's needed. And sometimes we need 80 to 90% rest in our lives, play in our lives, and intuition. And sometimes we don't, but sometimes we do. And sometimes we need to go more with what our feelings are than relationships. So we need to change our idea of balance here to let ourselves go with whatever is needed when it's needed, which is right now is a huge dose of intuition, rest, relaxation, play, peace, inner healing, and alignment in our lives. Okay. Not only that, but again, with the Libra influence, we need to change the way that we work with Mars and think about relationships. And we need to change the way that we work with and think about relationships so that we stop partnering with people who do not get our intuition, who do not get our soul, who do not get what puts us at peace, so that we leave those people behind, cut them out of our lives still with the Saturn and Aquarius influence, or so that we rearrange our relationships more towards our inner sense of peace and alignment. Not only do we need to change our relationships, whether that means ending or readjusting them, that's up to you to decide. But not only do we need to change our relationships to honor more of our inner peace and our inner soul, but we need to stop looking for relationships for validation. We need to stop looking for other people to rubber stamp all our actions and whether what we're doing is right or not. And we need to trust ourselves and God and higher power to give us our value and to give us our worth and to help us move forward too. We need to learn that while it's nice to get feedback from other people, at the end, we're the one who has to live with our decision and therefore needs to follow our own guidance. So I think there's a lot there that needs to happen. And if we can do that, which I think we've got a good opportunity to do, mind you, especially seeing the way the alignments are going to go next week, the week after this full moon. If we can do that, to me, I think things are going to get better and doors are going to open up. In what way? Well, this Venus square Saturn that I talked about a tad bit earlier is going to get better. Instead of this being hard for us to go inward, it's going to make it easier. So by us changing the way that we think logically about life and about balance and about relationships so that we can accept more intuition, more rest, more relaxation, that is then going to help us go deeper into our soul to do more of what we want to do, and to figure out more of what we want to do, and to figure out more of what makes us happy, and more of that than we did at the new moon in Leo, and to start to create more of a future with that. It's going to help us go deeper into our own inner guidance, our own soul and what it needs, and a higher power to connect and to get more answers, even more answers than what we had before about what is needed as we move on. Okay, and these inner answers, I should note, these inner answers that I believe are possible if we tune some of this other stuff out or adjust the way that we think about that, I think is then going to help lead to tangible physical manifestations that are going to be hopeful and helpful to bring more things together in our lives. Maybe not 100% physical manifestations, but the beginnings of some real tangible supportive physical manifestations as a result of the rest, the relaxation, or of the trusting of the intuition. Okay. Why do I think that? Because a few days after this full moon in Pisces, Venus is going to move a little bit further through Scorpio, and it's going to make an opposition here to Uranus and Taurus. Okay, this is what's called a mutual reception. When you get two planets in two signs that they do not like to be in, Venus doesn't like to be in Scorpio, Uranus doesn't like to be in Taurus, and where they work together to help one another out, because Uranus is exalted in Scorpio and Venus is at home in Taurus. It's not like a pure mutual reception, but I'm going to count it. This to me is a good thing. Okay. And making two negatives a positive, two wrongs a right here. And I like it. And what is this going to bring? Uranus, sudden and unexpected changes, Scorpio, in our tangible reality, Venus, that help us to feel more stable and more secure and more confident, Taurus. Why? Because we listened to our intuition, because we trusted it, and because we rested and relaxed more as we went through this whole process. And now something very good after this full moon and after the inner struggle comes through, something comes through, not fully baked. I still feel like it's the beginning. It's an outline of something, or a stick drawing, but we get some kind of good insight or good event or good thing that says you're on the right path. You're on the right path. You may not be to the finish line yet, but you're on the right path. And here's something to tell you it's coming together. Okay. And I do like it a lot. And that's it. Because that's all that I want to say or talk about, at least at this time. I'm now just going to repeat all of those things one more time without the astrological jargon, so that you can get a better sense of what I think is going on here. So let me do that now. What I think is going on at this full moon in Pisces is that we are getting major downloads from spirit, soul, intuition, God, and a higher power about what we need to realign and readjust our life in order to feel more at peace in it. Not only are we getting major insights from spirit and intuition, but I think we're also feeling called to have like a radical trust and faith and surrender here and rest as we go about following these spiritual inklings and healing more things and releasing old habits and patterns. And I do believe that these intuitive insights and these intuitive insights and this rest and relaxation is actually helping us to feel better about our life and where it's going and what's next for our lives, and to feel more in control. But even though a part of our soul feels so deeply at peace because of what spirit and intuition is telling us, and because of the rest and the relaxation that we're choosing, there's another part of ourselves that is creeping in on the fun and making it really hard for us to fully enjoy and embrace that. Okay, and what's making it really hard for us to fully embrace the peace and the surrender and the intuition and the rest and relaxation is our logical mind. Our logical mind is telling us that intuition doesn't make sense and isn't going to work. Not only is our logical mind telling us that it's not going to work, but we're also worried that following our intuition to the extent that we need and resting, relaxing to the massive extent that we need is going to upset the balance in our lives and prevent us from doing some things like putting food on the table and paying the bills that it is that we need to do. That could also be hard. Not only is that part of the challenge, but we could also be worried about relationships, what they're going to say and what they're going to think, and how they're going to work with us as we move forward. And what we really need to do at this full moon is is to not get lost in this inner conflict, but to change the way that we think, to allow more intuition to have its say and to be honored, and to change our ideas of balance, at least for the time being, so that we can enable more of this rest and relaxation and peace and inner alignment, and to change the way we work with relationships so that we don't let people stop us from doing what our soul needs and get in the way of us finding our own healing and inner peace. And if we can change the way that we think about and work through all of those things, and that is going to allow us to trust and have faith and surrender even more deeply than we did before, and to rest and relax and have fun and realign our lives towards better even more deeply than before, and to heal even more deeply, and to get even more understanding about what our soul wants and needs, and to create a life around that. And us getting even more in touch with our soul and what would make us happy is then perhaps suddenly and unexpectedly in the days after this full moon gonna lead to some good thing, I think, in tangible reality, some good change or adjustment, not a huge one, but the start of some good change or adjustment in our tangible reality to be made to kind of show us that we're on the right path and that we're doing a good thing, and that trust and faith and surrender is a viable, practical option for right now at this time that can work in the real world in order for us to move forward. Okay, and that's it. Anything else that I want to say? I don't have any metaphors for this time period, so I just want to see if there's any like last few messages that I want to leave with you. I actually think I did a good job at saying everything I had planned. I don't think I have too much left to add other than to say that this time period is about us having radical faith, or unreasonable faith and trust and surrender in what our soul is telling us, and on resting and relaxing and being at peace with what our soul is telling us and with whatever we're doing, whether we're actually doing something in reality or not doing anything at all. It's for us to have radical trust and faith and surrender and whatever that is, even if it feels crazy and even if it feels unreasonable. Okay, I know I said this a little bit before, but I want to linger here on this just to show you. You know, Libra to me, which is making the quincunxes to this full moon, is about reasonability, sensibility. In some ways, to me, it has a lot to do with other people, with society, with fitting into society and into other people. So too does a little bit of the Aquarius influence, and Mars is kind of trining Aquarius. So there's that. But Pisces is not about that. Pisces, if we're talking extremes now about the signs, Pisces is a lot about magic. It's about magic. It's about miracles. It's about fairy tales. It's about dreams. It's about the unrealistic. It's about embracing the unfathomable, the unrealistic, the crazy stuff. Because also the ancients too thought of Pisces in the 12th house of relating to insane asylums. So I want to really emphasize here that there's a huge need that at this full moon to trust whatever your intuition is telling you, and whatever will help you to be more at peace and more restful and more relaxed and more aligned in your life, to trust that to a crazy amount, an insane amount, even if it feels unrealistic, and even if you feel insane, and even if you don't feel understood. Like, there's a huge need to do that. And even if, especially if you're worried that it's not going to work out, there's a need to more fully embrace that for you to move onwards. Okay. Another thing that I want to say about all this too is that unfortunately, I can't really tell you what your intuition is telling you. Okay. I always do like in my videos to give specific examples, perhaps of what some of you may be going through at this time, but it's really hard when you get a full moon in Pisces. Because Pisces sure does have to do with the collective in some way, but even though Pisces has to do with the collective and like a universal spirit, it also does have to do with our soul. You know, like sometimes the universal spirit is very personal, and how we each work through that. And then that's what Pisces is, and Pisces is both. To me, Pisces is a sign that deals with contradictions the most, because it's the last sign of the zodiac that has to end old things and begin others. So I think another point that I want to mention here is not only that you need to trust radically in your intuition, in rest, in relaxation, in having fun, even if it seems crazy or unrealistic, but that whatever your soul is telling you, I can't really tell you what that is. That's a very personal process, and really up for you to reflect on yourself. If I had to give you any ideas, though, what your soul is telling you, to me, I do believe whatever your soul is telling you is not about more work you have to do. It's not about how nervous you need to be. It's not about how stressed out about everything is going on. the most I can tell you is that whatever your soul is telling you, it's up to you as to what the physical manifestation of that is. Whatever your soul is telling you, in my opinion, is going to be one that's going to point you more towards resting and relaxing either now or towards freeing up space for you to rest and relax and be more at ease in your life. Okay, other things that your spirit could possibly be telling you, if I wanted to be more realistic, the most realistic I can be here is that the sun is in Virgo here. Virgo is a lot about your job. It is a lot about your daily routines, your health, and your habits. So again, it's really up to you and your intuition. It's between you and your intuition and God and spirit of what is needed here. And for you to trust that 100%, even if it's unrealistic. What I think, and I do believe spirit is telling you to rest and relax more, or to eventually free up room to do that. That for a lot of you, again, it's up to you, but for that, a lot of you, it could definitely be related to your work, to your job, to your health, to your habits, and your daily routines. Okay. A lot of you could literally be resting because you have health problems, right? And you need to heal from those. So your intuition could be telling you, I need to rest to heal because my body is tired. So there could be a lot of that going on at this time period. Again, and this could be because some of you actually have health situations that you're dealing with, or it could just be because your body is literally healthy but tired. So another thing that could be going on, like if I were to give you more specifics, is that a lot of you this time period could literally be resting and sleeping more because your body is speaking to you that it needs that big time, and you need to honor that, not a little bit, a lot. Like if you need a sleep marathon for days, have a sleep marathon. Okay. Because that's a message. All right. Other things that this could be is that this could be job related. So some of you could literally be adjusting your job at this time to either changing jobs to be something that's more in alignment with you, which could indicate letting a job go and getting a new one. If it's not letting a job go and getting a new one, then some of you, if you're like business owners, could be adjusting your routines. Again, this is not changing a job or getting a new one to be more stressful. It's not, I'm going to leave this job to get a more stressful job at another company that's going to work me harder and be meaner to me. It's, I'm changing my job and my daily routines to do less work, to rest and relax more, because that's what my soul needs. And I think that's what spirit is telling us, and to rest and relax and have something more in alignment with my soul that helps me to heal. So I want to note, it could be some of that. If it's not that, then it could just be you doing something in your life that you need to have more fun and to rest and relax, right? And you doing more of that. And for some of you, that could be moving homes. For some of you, that could be changing friend groups. You know, it could be a lot of different things, but I did want to note that. I can't say for sure what it is. It's very personal to you as to what that is. And you need to follow whatever your soul is saying, and not really whatever I say, but whatever your soul is saying. But if I had to guess what this is, then it is your soul telling you that you need to rest and relax more, or do something in your life to free up space to rest and relax more, which for many of you could definitely be health related or related to your job and your daily routines. Okay. Now, anything else that I want to note here? Yeah, I think I have two more things that I want to note. The one thing I want to note is definitely about the practical concerns here, because the sun is in Virgo, and Virgo is about your job and your daily routines that, like, you need to pay the bills, right? To keep the lights on, to feed your family and provide for your family, and to keep things going. All right, I want to note here that there's something about this full moon in Pisces that really is encouraging all of us to, I want to say this in a way that's going to make the most sense, and not trigger you all, but there is something about this full moon that is encouraging a lot of us, all of us, most of us, to neglect some of our practical, stressful, serious work that needs to happen. Not forever, but especially for the time being as we recalibrate. So even if it doesn't feel sensible, again, that's a whole theme. There's something about the Pisces, like even if it doesn't feel sensible, to do it. And so what I want to say there is that to give you advice, if you're dealing now with work situations, is that for those of you who are dealing with actual work situations that you need to pay bills, if you can take the time off work, now is probably the time to do it. If you can take the time off work to like that still pays your bills, to rest and to relax, or to cultivate more fun in your life and more peace. The full moon in Pisces is saying now, great. Don't be afraid to do it in a very, very big way, at least for the next few days or weeks, even to get in that restful place. Okay. If you don't have that kind of job where you can do that, then I think that this, right? Because we have to be realistic, right? And if you don't feel intuitively called to like leave your job or to get fired from one, then this full moon is saying, do your job, pay your bills if you need to, but when you're not doing the things you absolutely, it's saying this, do your job, pay your bills, but try your best to adjust that if you can to be easier for you. And if you can't adjust that, then when you are not at work, make extreme use of the restful time that you have. Make extreme use of the time when you're not at work to rest, to relax, to have fun, and to do whatever it is that your soul needs to be at peace and to heal and to enjoy life and to go more in on that so that you can move forward. Okay, so I want to be clear there. Not that all of you are going to be getting that. Okay, some of you are not going to be dealing with work situations. Okay. Some of you are not. You're going to be dealing with home situations. You're going to be dealing with maybe relationship stuff. You're going to be dealing with other things, and this isn't going to apply, and that's fine. Trust your intuition. But for those of you who are dealing with work stuff in particular, taking a huge amount of time off or resting a lot more is key, or resting when you can and doing what's fun for you when you can and taking full advantage of that is what is needed, because that rest and that relaxation is going to help you come back to your work more inspired, with more ideas, more creativity, and more momentum here to do what needs to be done, or to do what needs to be done eventually in a more efficient and a more effective way. So I want to be very clear on that here. I'm not advocating that you like shirk all your responsibilities, especially if you need them to pay the bill. I got Jupiter in Taurus, right? Like, you need to pay the bills, right? You need to work, you get that money, get what you need to support yourself and to feel secure. But when you can, trust, faith, surrender is absolutely key. And maybe some of you are the opposite. Some of you are leasing a job in the hopes that a new job will come to catch you, and having the trust and the faith in that as you build your own business. And there's also a need to trust your intuition on that too, to change your work to be something better. So a lot of things going on there. I think I've made my case, I think. Maybe there's one more point I should make about the work stuff while we're there, is that even though I do believe we are going into a more restful way of working, really for the next few years and maybe a decade or so, even though I do believe we're going into a more restful way of working in which our intuition and our rest and our play and our inner healing and our inner peace needs to be prioritized, it won't always be as intense of a need as it is right now. I think right now we're getting a more intense focus to rest more fully and to trust our intuition more fully to kind of kickstart us in that new direction. So I want to say that even though there is tons of energy now saying do an extreme amount of rest and peace and intuition, even if it feels reasonably unreasonable, even if it feels like that, this extreme intuition, is always going to be a thing, but not always to this extreme extent now. Going to be a thing for the next few years. And to let yourself have this extreme moment if your soul tells you that you need it in order to initiate yourself into this different energy. So that's what I want to say there. I'm not saying to neglect all responsibilities, just saying that there needs to be a way here to adjust your responsibilities to honor your soul's need for once. especially because I don't feel like we've been doing that for a while with a lot of things going on in the astrology. You know, I feel like for a while, especially before Saturn and Pluto came conjunct in Capricorn, which was really like all of 2019, right? And 2020, in the years before that too, because Saturn and Pluto is like a larger cycle. I think in 2019 and 2020, in the years before, like we had to work hard. We had to work hard all the time because life was an emergency and life was stressful all the time. And since Saturn and Pluto came conjunct and have now moved on, as you can see it here, and that 2019 and 2020 are over, now we're coming into a different life in which there are less emergencies. It may not feel like it when you think about the world, but the world is not always what's actually going on here spiritually. So it may not feel like it in terms of the world, but spiritually, we are going into a time in which there aren't as many emergencies from here on out. And when we don't have to stress all the time and we need to more fully let ourselves embrace it and release again those old patterns. So I wanted to say that there. Another thing I wanted to note too is that for some of you, this is going to be a lot easier. This whole thing that I just described is going to be a lot easier than others. Okay. And for some of you, this whole process is going to be a lot easier because you're naturally already inclined to intuition and to going with the flow and to trusting and surrendering. And so this may be not as big of a deal for you. You're like, I'm used to suspending logic and all of that and going this way. And you're going to have a better time. And for those of you, others of you, you're not that accustomed to following your intuition and to resting and relaxing or to honoring your soul's needs. And this can be very, very difficult for you. It's not up for me to say, just for me to explain what's going on here and what I think needs to happen. Okay. But there's always, and you should always know in all my videos, there's always extremes. There's always extremes. Some of you are better, some of you aren't, you know, based on our own charts and our own choices and free will and all things like that. So there's always a spectrum of how good and how bad things are, or how easy or how difficult things are here in all my videos. But I just wanted to explain here. Some of you are gonna really enjoy this. Gonna really enjoy this. You've been waiting. Some of you have been waiting for this your entire life. Some of you have been like, I've been waiting for the world to get more intuitive and more restful and more relaxing, and gonna like it. And others of you are gonna feel like it's quite an adjustment here. But either way, I think this is the direction that our lives and really the world is going. And more intuition, more peace, more rest, more relaxation, more honoring the spirit and the soul and the unexplainable things of life. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I think that's all I wanted to say, is going to look at the inside decrees. So I'm going to pull that up on the screen. Now, the inside decrees are not written by me. They're written by someone else named Elias. I believe it's Elias Lonsdale, who channeled meanings for each of the degrees of the zodiac from spirit. But I do like to read these inside degrees just to give you another opinion or another way of looking at the energy here. I should note that this full moon is at 28 degrees Pisces, but I'm going to read the inside degree for 29 because I just liked it better. Even though I'm going to read the degree for 29 Pisces, I suppose I should also note that 27 and 28 are still relevant. Like, I still think they apply, definitely. I just didn't feel called to talk about it in this video because I have talked about them already in some of my other videos on my website. I do a lot more videos than this one, but did want to note that. I also wanted to note as well that I'm going to leave Pisces 27 and 28 up here on the screen, even though I'm not going to read it. So if you want to pause the video right now to read those yourself and to reflect, because I think they're accurate, I think I've got information to offer you, please do so. Okay. But now I'm going to go into 29. So I'm going to move the move it a little bit. Pisces 29. Oh, let me keep 28 on the screen. Okay. And I like 29, I should note, because I think it just gets to the point. It just gets to the goal better of what we're trying to accomplish. So I want to look at that. We've got Pisces 29. Learning by heart all the ways to perfect the earth dance. Elaborately and ritualistically devising and setting up cycles, projects, programs, and trainings to master skills, to develop missing areas, and to make up for what are felt to be gaps and gaping holes. What does this mean to me? It means to me that there's something about this full moon, I really truly believe it, that's meant to be helpful. If we can quit the logic and all this other stuff, I do think this full moon is meant to be helpful, and it's meant to be helpful to help us find a better way of living. You know, the earth dance to me is like our practical way of going about life on earth on the day-to-day, to help us have a better day-to-day dance, have a better physical life that brings more of our heart, learning by heart, all the ways that brings more of our heart into it. Not only is this full moon really helping us to just have a better daily life that honors more of our heart, but I think one that helps us to feel more whole again. Remember, I said that Pisces also has to do about wholeness. And we've got here in this insight degree to develop missing areas and to make up for what are felt to be gaps and gaping holes. So this full moon, if we can silence these worries and fears and all this other stuff, I think is meant to help us bring more of our heart into our daily life and to start to love life again and to enjoy it more and to feel more whole and not like we're missing a bunch of things or like we're fragments of ourselves. Not only that, but look, it says too, we're setting up cycles, different cycles, I think, projects, programmings, and trainings. So I think another thing too is that not only is this full moon really about us bringing more of our happiness into our daily life, to love life again and to feel more whole, but it's helping us to really get things going in a different way in our lives. I mean, especially as we get up to the equinox, right? I mean, the equinox is next week, and Libra starts seasons when the sun enters Libra. So I think we're in cardinal signs, which start seasons, also start cycles. Seasons are like cycles. So I do think that we're preparing to start a different cycle as we get to the sun in Libra and a full moon eventually soon in Aries cardinal signs. We're getting ready here to set up a new cycle. Yeah, with Venus going retrograde in a cardinal sign in December. So I think that there's a lot of that too. Next, we get remedial practice, going back to go forward. Another thing that this reminds me of is that this trusting of our intuition and the weird things that it says, and the going all in on it may make us feel like we're going backwards. You know, going in on our intuition and being happier and resting and relaxing and healing may make us feel like we're going backwards. Not because we actually are going backwards, but I think because we've been so conditioned to think that intuition is cheesy, intuition is ridiculous, resting is for sissies, you know? So that's another thing that I want to note here too, that this is a beautiful thing. This full moon, it wants us to be happier in our life, more connected to life, to earth, to our soul, to what we're doing, more whole, and to start a new cycle in which that occurs. But we could feel like we're going backwards, even though we're actually going forwards, because we're not used to doing this and we were conditioned for so long to think that it was not right. Okay, but we're not going backwards. This is actually the best thing we can do to move onwards. Okay, the next thing says, what do I want to look at next? You are granted a sensibility that knows and can recognize anywhere the real thing, the fulfilled prototype. Tyrannically beset by the need to embody that archetype no matter what. So what that means to me, when I think sensibility, I think internal sensibility, a spiritual sensibility from our own intuition or from soul. So what this also means to me is that our intuition and God is speaking to us about what the real thing is, about what is real in our lives and in our soul, and about what we need to come back to life to be real again, if you will, and to feel more a part of it. It is speaking to us, and that we need to embody that no matter what, no matter what. So it is there. It is there if we're not distracted by the logic. Our soul is speaking about what we need to realign, things that we need to follow no matter what. But even though we need to follow what our soul is saying to restore wholeness and peace, look, it says putting yourself through hell to make it happen. It could require a sacrifice, sacrificing things we used to do that we think we also need to do. It could require us to make some kind of sacrifice. And I think the sacrifice is to sacrifice discipline and constraint. To sacrifice old things that we really didn't want anyways. You know, is that a sacrifice? I don't know. To sacrifice something you didn't want. I think it feels like a sacrifice when you think you want it, when you really don't. So it's a longer conversation, but I do get the feeling that to continue bringing it together here is that this full moon is really meant to be positive, to help us bring more of our heart into life and to love life and to feel more whole again. But even though that's what it's meant to do, we could feel like we have to go back. It's a step backwards, even though it's a step forwards. And we could feel like it's a step backwards because we're not used to honoring our intuition. We were told that it's silly for a long time, and that resting is for babies. We were told that, and because us resting and relaxing may cause us to sacrifice things we thought we need or want to make things happen, even though we didn't really want them and don't really need them, I don't think. Okay. And then perhaps the last thing I'll read is this. Look, it says, if you stay with it forever and refuse to hear of anything less, no matter how crazy it momentarily seems. So maybe that's the last thing that I'll leave you with. This inside degree says what I was saying earlier. You have to follow what your inner sensibility, your intuition says, no matter what. You have to follow it to the very end, no matter how crazy it seems, in order to move forward. Okay, so I think I want to leave you with that. Okay. This full moon is setting us up for more fulfillment in our life, a big new cycle in which we enjoy our lives more and are more restful and are more relaxed in it. That's very good. We just need to trust it, whatever our spirit and soul and intuition is telling us wholeheartedly, which could, for some of you, could definitely be job and health related. We need to trust what our spirit and soul and intuition is telling us wholeheartedly to the very end here, no matter how crazy it seems, in order to make things happen. Okay. Yeah. Doesn't mean stop doing the thing you need to pay the bills and ruin that. If you feel strongly in your intuition that you need that, I want to be clear, but just means to do the best that you can with what you have in order to create as much space as possible for you to feel at peace. Okay. Now, your card for this time period is, quite an entrance here. We've got the Devil upright. Let me look at what we've got at the bottom of the deck. We've got the Two of Wands upright. You know, full moons are also about choices. I didn't really mention that during the beginning of the video, but full moons are also about choices too, because they're a function of an opposition, right? The moon opposite the sun, and oppositions indicate choices. Why do oppositions in astrology indicate choices? Because you can't do two opposite things at once, you know? I mean, you can try to do two opposite things at once, but usually some kind of compromise or some kind of decision needs to be made about what to do and when to do it here. And so I think that that's the message that I got here, because twos to me are also choices, that during this time period, we may need to make some hard choices at this full moon. We may need to make some hard choices to stop doing something, the devil, that's not working for us. That's not working for our soul, even if it appears to be working externally. We may need to make choices to stop doing things that aren't working for us. And it can feel really hard for us to make choices to stop doing something that isn't working for us, especially with the devil. It's not like a pleasant card upright. But that we need to do it. Another message. This is going to be a little bit of a tough one. Again, take it if it resonates. You'll know if it's for you. Goodness, I don't want to say this, but I also got the sense too that there are some of you with the devil that know what you need to do in order to trust your intuition, in order to feel at peace, but aren't doing it. And aren't doing it because you feel like you have no other way. You have no other way. You have no other choice. Like you are trapped. You know, the devil usually features two people that are chained together with the devil right above it. So another message, which may not be for all of you, but for some of you, is that you may be hearing me right now and you may be saying, I can't rest and relax. I can't rest and relax. I can't trust my intuition at the same time that I pay the bills, and at the same time that I get work done, and at the same time I provide for my family. I get the feeling that there may be some of you out there who are still struggling with that, even though I tried my best to explain it earlier in this video. And I get a strong message that these cards are saying, but you can though, but you can, you can. I may not feel like you can, it may not feel like it to you in your soul that you can create a lifestyle in which you can trust your intuition and rest and relax, or create a job but you can. There may be something that you're not seeing that needs to be done in order for that to happen. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. To me, the devil's about trade-offs, and the twos are about choices. So if that's you, this is a specific message, and I'm glad this came up because I do think there are some of you, if that's you right now, that's like, this is ridiculous, I can't follow my intuition and rest and relax, then these cards to me are calling you out, are saying you can, though, you're just not thinking about it in the right way. And something needs to be done. If you're unhappy about it, if you're unhappy and overworked and overstressed, you can find a way to adjust this. And you need to, if you're overworked and unhappy. If you're happy in the overwork, then fine, stay in it. But if you're unhappy, this is saying, I think there's a need to adjust it. And the way to get out of this situation is to make a hard choice, a hard decision, to maybe sacrifice something over another. So to give you an example, maybe there are some of you who are like, well, yeah, no, I want to say it's a hard decision, and you need to make a hard decision based on your value systems and on a hierarchy of value systems and what's more important to you than something else. So maybe for an example, there are some of you who are like, I can't leave my job that I hate because it pays the bills for my family. Well, then my suggestion will be, like, for an example, like, why can't you get another job? Maybe don't have that job, but have another job that's easier for you, that you like. You know, okay, you can't, okay, you don't, this job sucks, but get another job in a similar field or in another field that gives you more of what you need to feel at ease and to feel at peace at this time. And yes, that new job could be a downgrade from your current position, could be a little bit less pay, but a downgrade and a little bit less pay for still getting some pay and having more free time, isn't that a worthy trade-off? So I think that this is a message for some, not for all of you again, but for some of you. If you do not feel like you are living a life that's in alignment with you and in attunement with who you are, or like you can honor that, or like you're having fun in life and restful and at peace in life, I do believe something strongly needs to change. Okay. And that change may not be easy to make and may require you to sacrifice some things that you wanted in order to get something else you want, or to make a series of trade-offs that may feel unpleasant. But it's worth it. Even if it's hard, it's worth it. You got to free yourself from these situations. And there may be a way around it. Okay, I think that's it. Sorry, there's something there. I feel like I don't know if I'm not explaining right. It's because it's both. It's both. It's if you're stuck in a situation you don't want to be in, you may be blocking your own mindset and limiting your options when there's really more that can be done to fix the situation. And not only may you be blocking yourself and limiting your options, but these other options you consider are not going to be a silver bullet. They're going to require sacrifices and trade-offs. But to make a sacrifice and a trade-off to create a better life, I think is worth it, especially in the short term for the next few weeks, to create a more restful lifestyle in the long term. So that's a message for some of you. If you have to take less pay to do more of what you like and spend a few weeks kind of juggling things while Mercury is retrograde before you figure it, do it. You know, don't stay stuck in these situations. And that, maybe to give you another example, could apply to relationships as well. Maybe there are some of you who feel stuck in a relationship too, because this full moon is not friendly to relationships with Mars and Mercury in Libra. Mars in fall, Mercury pre-retrograde shadow square Pluto is not friendly to Libra. So some of you could also feel stuck in relationships too, stuck in abusive relationships, stuck in things there. And I'm not trying to blame the victim. I understand these are really hard situations, but I think these cards are saying there you got to try. You don't stay stuck in this situation. If you're unhappy, there's something else you got to try to get out of it that you may not be seeing. It may not be easy to get out of these hard situations, but it's going to be worth it. And to make the choice, even if you got to do some trade-offs in order to make it happen. Okay. Do not stay stuck in old abusive situations that your soul, that's making you ignore your intuition or feel torn in your soul, because it's not what it's about. Let yourself come out of these hard times. The Five of Pentacles reverse is at the bottom of the deck. Let yourself come out of these hard times, you know, and maybe that's another point too, is that when we trust our intuition and rest and relax more, a lot of times people don't give us permission, especially with the Libra stuff. People don't give us permission. So I think that's another message for some of you here, is stop waiting for permission and stop waiting for something else externally to turn around. Stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to trust your intuition, to be who you want to be, and start doing it yourself, you know, and enabling more and creating more of an environment for that to happen here, because I feel like there are more options than what meets the eye here to rearrange and to fix our lives, even if the options themselves feel a little bit scary or unrealistic or require some sacrifices at first, which especially came out in that inside degree that we mentioned. Okay. So I want to say that I hope that was received well. I didn't mean to talk about that, but I guess the tarot did mean to. I hope that I was able to explain that in a sensitive way here, but don't stay stuck in abusive, hurtful situations that ignore your intuition. Find a way to get out. That may not be what you were originally thinking, but there is a way, and it may require you to make sacrifices, but that's okay. Do it now for the long term. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to say. I hope that covers it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a good full moon, the best that you can. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel, write in the comments, and I will talk to you on the next one.